شغل الميكروفون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حابب نرحب بكم بالايفنت شيبينج دافوس. المؤتمر اللي حيصير اليوم جزء من مبادرة حيتم بثها مباشر في دافوس على الساعة 1:30 هون في عمان. فبما انه المؤتمر في دافوس حيكون باللغة الإنجليزية، أخذنا قرار انه المؤتمر اليوم المحلي برضه يتم في اللغة الإنجليزية، فإذا بتسمحوا لي أحكي في الإنجليزي بكون مشكور. First of all, I'd like to give you guys a bit of an introduction. What are we doing here and what's our purpose? The World Economic Forum is a non-profit, non-governmental organization that is committed to improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agenda. It was established in 1971 by Professor Klaus Schwab. Now, after the Arab Spring in 2011, the Global Shapers Community was established. Now, the Global Shapers Community is an initiative of the World Economic Forum that combine and network young individuals aged 20 to 30 years old. And these are individuals that contribute to their society, that are entrepreneurial in their ways of thinking, and that are basically leading change into their societies. So the Global Shapers community mainly focuses on youth empowerment. Currently, we are 4,668 global shapers in the world, and we're located in 402 cities or hubs around the world. Now, the annual meeting is an event that's taken place at the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum, they hold numerous summits throughout the year, minhum regional, but the most important meeting is the annual meeting. And today is the first day of the annual meeting, and we are all honored to be a part of it because it's happening right now. At this very moment in Davos, world leaders, artists, thinkers, academics, politicians, and much more, they're all discussing the world's most important issues. The annual meeting in Davos is sometimes considered to be a bit, let's say, mysterious. The annual meeting is extremely difficult to attend, and the participation fee is a very big number, sometimes reaches up to 6 figures. Yet, today we have the opportunity to engage into this annual meeting. We have the opportunity to shape the discussion and influence the global dialogue on the world's most important issues. What we're doing today is a concept called Shaping Davos. And allow me to explain this so we can have a clear understanding. For the past years, Davos was always broadcasted to the world. But for the first time ever, the world is being brought to Davos through the Global Shapers community. The Amman Hub was one of 40 hubs around the world that was elected to participate in this event. Now, the event that we're taking place in for the Amman Hub, the topic is called, "Is Religion a Pretext to Conflict?" The conclusions and the main discussion points of today's event in this next hour and a half will be shared in a live session in Davos, and this session will begin in Amman time at 1:30 p.m. The panelists that will be in Davos are 4 main panelists. You have Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of the UK, and you have Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. You also have the Archbishop of Cape Town, and you have Rabbi David Rosen. You are all welcome, once this local event is done, to participate or to attend or to watch the live event that will happen in Davos from 1:30 to 2:45 p.m. in this same hall. Now, the local session that's happening in Amman, we gave it a nice topic called Examining Identity Between Culture and Religion. Religion has always played an important role in shaping the identity of people across the world. Our region in particular, the Middle East and North Africa, is unique because it's the cradle of many civilizations. It's the birthplace of the world's two largest religions and their many denominations. Even today, with the separation of state and church and the prevalence of secular thoughts and institutions, religions continue to be a very important factor in shaping and leading the global issues of today. During the past few decades, religion has continued to be portrayed in the media as a source of violence, conflict, and division. More often than not, religious people in the media are always portrayed to be terrorist or extremist. So today, we have an esteemed panel, and I'm very honored to be discussing this panel with these four gentlemen. And we'll start with Dr. Omar Razaz. Dr. Omar Razaz, the first gentleman to my left, is currently the chairman of the Jordan Strategy Forum. The Jordan Strategy Forum is the first and only independent think tank here in Jordan. He's also the chairman of the board of directors at Jordan Ahli Bank. And it goes without saying that previously, he was the chairman of the board of trustees at the King Abdullah II Fund for Development, as well as the director general of Jordan's Social Security Corporation. We also have with us Mr. Saad Karaja. He's a co-founder of Saad Karaja Law Firm, and he's a member at the government committees for drafting the communication law and investment law. And thirdly, we have Mr. Samir Petro, who is a philanthropist, as well as the co-founder of ITHRA Center for Regional Training. He is also the founder of the East-West Initiative for Cultural Exchange and Understanding. And last but definitely not least, we have Mr. Ahmed Al-Zu'bi. He's a fellow global shaper, by the way, of the Amman Hub, as well as the founding curator of the Amman Hub. He is also the director of research and policy at the Jordan Investment Commission. I would like to start this event with a question that has been on all of our minds. Something that has been in the media spotlight for quite some time. Saad, the first question to you, please. Why does it seem that the religion of Islam is frequently associated with violence?
Well, apart from the theory of conspiracy in the media and everywhere, you don't find any group now, Christian or Jewish, who are saying that we are Islamic group and creating an Islamic state. I'm trying to say there is a very realistic reasons for this association. However, the media is misleading in the sense of trying to introduce the genuine relation between the religion, in particular Islam, and violence. You know, if you want to define any religion, you go to the text. If you want to be objective, you go to the text, not to the media. And when you go to text by any objective reading, you will definitely find that this reading, this text, I mean Quran and Prophet Muhammad, Sunnah, is never promoting violence or presenting violence as a way to deal in life. So this will take us again to the relation not between the media and this violence or talking about Islam or associating Islam with violence, but also to relation between the real text of any religion and what we understand about it. And to be honest, this is not only a problem for others, it's a problem for us. Although I said that the text is genuinely promoting peace and negotiation and civilization, we need not to forget that after Prophet Muhammad passed away, next day, there was a conflict between Muslims, before America, before Europe, before anybody else. So we have to be realistic while we are saying that Islam is not associated with violence, that we need as Muslims, as Arabs, even as Christians, Arab Christian, we need to understand that we have a problem that we need to address. As I said, the conflict started about between Khalifas, or not before they nominate the Khalifa, who is going to take after Prophet Muhammad. And there was a fight, and it wasn't religious, it was political. Is it from Khawarij, or is it from Quraysh? And this was the main issue which creates the whole conflict all over history of Islam. My last point here is trying to say we should be clear that yes, Islam is not associated violence. Text and Quran and Prophet Muhammad. However, we should not forget or shy from saying that we have a problem. For your knowledge, and maybe everybody knows, I'm sure you know, that we are saying that there was 100 years of religious fighting in Europe. We had 300 years of fighting in Baghdad, between 300 AC and 600 AC, between Shia and Sunnah. And if you go to Ibn Kathir, he will describe to you on yearly basis a very, very bloody kind of conflict between Shia and Sunnah in Iraq. So what I want to say, we have always to understand that they hijacked Islam by all means and ways. And of course, media is not objective. Most of media are promoting what will serve their agenda. You don't expect some, I don't know, I'm allowed to say, Fox News will not be that objective when it comes to Shots News. But we have other biased kind of media, Arab media and Shia media and Sunni media, and we have all kinds of medias now. So media is not the parameter to judge the relation between violence and Islam or between any religion and Islam. I believe as Muslims, we have a serious issue to address, and I believe we should address this issue before, not because of the West and defending ourselves and trying to explain ourselves. It's a serious problem, and you can see the result of it. If Americans or these big countries are, doing a conspiracy and trying to destroy our country, they find a very, very viable kind of environment for such plan.
Thank you for the rich information. I'd like to shift gears and take this to Dr. Umar. Up until the beginning of the early 1900s, the MENA region was ruled by empires that were more or less Islamic. Today, there are about 20 states in the MENA region, many with ethnic and religious conflicts, which may lead to further divisions. Dr. Umar, in your opinion, when was the turning point in our recent Middle Eastern history where the majority of the MENA region stopped having a single common identity? And was there even a point when there was a single identity?
Thank you for this question. I don't think human beings anywhere in the world have a single identity. Even as human beings, we are multiple identities. We are made up of multiple identities. We have different sense of belongings to family, to tribe, to region, to geography, to ideas, to faith, and what have you. What happens over time is some aspects of these identities get traumatized. And trauma causes you to become defensive of that aspect of your identity that gets challenged. Our region went through a dormant period, a very long dormant period in the history of civilizations. After the golden age of Islam, we went through a dormant period. The printing press, which was introduced in Europe in the 1445 for the first time, didn't come into our part, into the Ottoman Empire until 400 years later. It was outlawed. The printing press was outlawed. The effect of outlawing the printing press was that you had literacy in Europe in the range, in the 1800s, 60% among men, 40% among women. In our part of the world, literacy rate was 2%. Exposure to ideas was the ability to read anything was 2%. That, we still live the effects of that with trauma after trauma. When you bring in added effects, added traumas, the Israeli occupation, the finding of oil wealth in the region, and the world West deciding that oil wealth is too important for it to let this region sort of left to its own, and therefore the history of colonialism that we have experienced, and peddling and influence and despotic regimes, our own despotic regimes, all of this has gotten us to the fragmentation that we are witnessing today. There was one day when there was a dream that this region would come together under an overarching identity, allowing for all sorts of identities to. Now that has shrunk to a nation-state identity, and now that we're seeing it around us shrinking to even fractures of identity based on not just religion, sect, and within the sect there are divisions, and within that there are divisions. There is no end to this fracturing unless we can address the issue of the trauma. It is interesting and sad that today we're witnessing a trauma in Paris and France and Europe. It is echoes of traumas we have been witnessing, and it might be an opportunity for an inward looking, not for everybody, to see how do we overcome the trauma, how do we move from reacting to the trauma to actually acting towards it, how do we move away from what people have predicted would become the conflict of civilizations, to isolating this conflict, identifying it as a conflict of extremisms, not conflicts of civilization. Islam and Christianity, Judaism, and various cultures of the world have, and Islam has been a link between Indian, Roman, and how do we move back to a cultural openness, civilization openness, and not allow these types of events to lead us down a very dangerous track that extremists on all sides want us to move down to.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Samir, if I may start with you. You work a lot with youth and intercultural exchange, with a main focus on bridging the East and the West. Can you list the main difference you see between youth from our region and that of the West? And by differences, I mean their perception of their own identity, basically how they see themselves.
The way we see ourselves here, even as Arabs, Jordanians, we think collectively. We don't have that individual thinking or decision making or our own idea. And that's the difference there with the West. The West, you would see them more individualistic. Everybody could have their own idea. It's okay that we don't agree together. It's okay that you have this religion or that religion. It's okay that you would think of this thing is okay, but it's not. But in our region, we are more like we all have kind of to agree together and have the same political views and the same way of dealing with things. And that's I think that's the major thing that I see between both cultures or both identity or the makeup of the society.